Okay, that's done. And again, just a reminder about our recordings. Robin has been very gracious about allowing us to record her. We're going to keep the program on YouTube for 30 days, and Ava will send out a link so that if you have to leave, or if somebody who missed the program today, they'll have an opportunity to do so. At the very bottom of your screen, if you're on a PC kind of device, if you bring your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you're going to see where your controls are. And it'd be really great if you would open up, if you click on the participants button and the chat button. And Robin, if you would like, we can hold the questions until later, or if there's something really pressing, I can interrupt you and say, oh, this question just came in on chat. What would you prefer?
I think if you hold your questions till the end, that's great. But if something comes in on chat and it seems, pertinent to what screen I'm on in the presentation, go ahead and interrupt me.
Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
And of course, we've got a great opportunity here with Robin. If you have any brick walls specifically about a Polish record or Polish ancestry, this is the perfect time to ask it. As I think all of you know, Robin is the Assistant Director of JRI-Poland. She is a recent recipient of the IAJGS Lifetime Achievement Award. I think that should only be given to people in their 90s, but because Robin clearly has a lot more time here to donate her valuable expertise. She became in 2020 the project manager of the JRI-Poland Next Gen project, which has redesigned the JRI-Poland website, the database, and the search engine. If you haven't been to the JRI-Poland website in a while, you are in for a major surprise. Obviously, this is not her first time around the block. She frequently speaks and writes on subjects related to JRI-Poland as well as Jewish genealogy. She's been recognized by the city of Lublin in Poland, which is her grandmother's hometown. She received a medal. I don't think it was Cracker Jack. I think it was a real bona fide medal in 2017 from the mayor for inspiring the future and cultural identity of that city of 340,000 people on Lublin's 700th birthday. She has spoken at many IAJGS conferences. I feel privileged that I've been in her audience. She organized the 2018 IAJGS conference in Warsaw or Warszawa, and also the virtual conference on Jewish genealogy in 2020. She is calling us, I believe, from San Francisco, but originally from Chicago. She has 4 wonderful kids, as you can see. They recently became grandparents, she and her husband. Mazel tov on that, Robin. Since my mother comes from Łódź, I can't tell you how excited I am that you are going to be speaking on a website that directly led to my finding some surviving second cousins now in Sweden and in Israel. I'm going to go ahead and allow Robin to go ahead and take over, and I'm here if you need me, Robin.
Thank you very much, Deborah. So, of course, my voice just started to become scratchy. As Deborah mentioned, I am speaking about Poland, but the topic of this presentation is actually a little broader than that. So let me share screens, and hopefully that will work. It looks like it will. It's asking me, do I want a Chrome tab? All right, it's a little bit odd. Select a tab to preview, and it's not showing me a tab. So let's go new. Okay.
There we go. It looks like it's starting, Robin.
All righty. Let me. Of course, it's going to a new tab and not my presentation, because for some reason today nothing is working quite right.
That's okay.
So in which case I'll go directly to the JRI-Poland website, and that's fine. But it's too bad. I would like you to see my screens. Let me try one more time and see if it'll let me share my screen. No, it's only giving me the tab. Select a tab to preview. Share tab audio. All right. Well, for some reason it doesn't want to let me share. So we'll just work with the screen, which is where I prefer to be anyway. So this is as Deborah mentioned, I became the project manager of the project to completely redo the JRI-Poland website, which is more than 25 years old. I can't tell you exactly what year it appeared, but I can tell you it didn't look so great. In fact, let me show you just for kicks what it looked like. I think if I go to the About Us page and scroll down, here it is. So I'm making it bigger on my screen. I don't know if you can see it bigger, but this is what the original JRI Poland homepage
We
looked
can't
like. It
see
might
it
even,
yet. We
you
can't
can't
see
see
it
it?
yet. Mm-mm.
Could you see my, you couldn't see anything? You couldn't see my JRI Poland screen?
No, we can't see it now.
Did you see it before?
We did
For a
see it
second.
before, yeah,
You did see it before.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for cooperating today. All right, let me close it and select a tab to preview again and say Chrome tab. All right, I'm gonna, yeah, it's not an option now. Okay, so let's try again. Share screens, select tab to preview, and it's not bringing it up.
Have you
Mm.
hit the share screen button?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. Now it's showing again. It's interesting. I had to have a new tab up. Okay, and then so let's go to the JRI Poland webpage again. Do you see my maroon colored screen now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Fabulous. Okay, so what I did was I went to the, let me start by saying this top line, hopefully you can see my cursor.
We
The
can.
top line here on the left is a menu bar. For some reason, because it doesn't have little squares around it or something, people sometimes don't understand this is a menu bar. And the things that you really want to do, like search, are here. I'm going to show you Town Explorer, Project Explorer, not so much the knowledge base, which I'm hoping to redo this year, but this is the menu bar. Throughout the system, if you click on the logo, you'll come back to this page. So just know that that's kind of the secret handshake in modern websites. But I thought I would just show you what the website used to look like. So hopefully you're seeing the About Us screen with a picture of Stanley Diamond, our fearless leader, signing an agreement in 2013 with the Polish State Archives. That was not our first. So here is an image of our original homepage. And so you can see the world has progressed a bit since then. And you can read about our history and who our leadership is on this page. Let me come back by hitting the logo to the home page and tell you the first thing you need to do to investigate the JRI Poland website is to create an account or log in if you have one. And many of our users believe they have an account, but they actually don't. And what they're used to is a Jewish Gen account. And until, excuse me, until October of 2021, your Jewish Gen account served as the way into JRI Poland. They Jewish Gen graciously allowed us to use their security system, and we no longer do that. And it's created a lot of confusion. However, it's also created clarity because until then, we had about 25 years of people thinking that JRI Poland was Jewish Gen and Jewish Gen was JRI Poland. And
Watching our genealogy meeting.
I'm sorry, somebody said something, but I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay, everything okay?
I
All
think
right.
that somebody
Perhaps you need
needs
to
to be
mute.
muted.
Somebody needs to mute. Okay, so anyway, it's created a lot of confusion, which means a lot of people believe they've donated money to JRI Poland, but have not. And so you'll see that if you know Jewish Gen, their colors are green and blue, and those are not our colors. So we are completely separate organizations, have nothing to do with each other, but are friendly, and we allow our data to be displayed on the Jewish Gen. Actually we don't. We allow our search result button to be displayed on the Jewish Gen unified search results, just like Litvak and Gesher Galicia and Yad Vashem do. And so we actually are not a part of Jewish Gen. Our database is completely separate, and that's actually the experiment that I'm involved in right now. We're almost done with the complete redo of our website. And we are working on converting our database to a new format, which I'll tell you a little bit about. It's actually quite exciting, but also pretty detailed. So let me back up and tell you a little bit about why you should be interested in JRI Poland if you don't know whether your family came from Poland or not. And then we'll proceed a little bit with logging in. The presentation that I can't show you is a presentation called Finding Your Eastern European Family on the JRI Poland website. And I think this is the new JRI Poland website. Well, the reason that I use the word Eastern European is because many of us think about Poland as if it's in Eastern Europe. But if you go to Poland today, and I've been there 9 times, I'm going to be there again, hopefully in July. If you go to Poland today and you say something about Eastern Europe or the Pale of Settlement, you will quickly be told that Poland is not in Eastern Europe, it's in Central Europe, and that Poland was never a part of the Pale of Settlement, and that is true. And something that I learned when I chaired the IAJGS Warsaw Conference and came up with this great "Come Back to the Pale" campaign idea for our marketing. And I was very quickly told, "You don't understand. Poland was never part of the Pale of Settlement, and we're not in Eastern Europe." So that is actually true. Poland was part of the Russian Empire. During that time, it was also called the Congress Poland or the Kingdom of Poland. And before that, which was about 1791, and before, Poland was an independent country that often had other alliances and was part of greater countries called the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, etc., and had been an independent kingdom during that time, and then lost that independence, became part of Russian Poland, the Tsarist Empire. And so there's a lot of confusion about what exactly is Poland. And again, unfortunately, I can't show you the slide of my map of the universe, but the towns that were part of that are part of the JRI Poland Town Explorer system, which I'll show you so you're not looking at the same screen. We now have 1,900 towns in our Town Explorer database. They are cities, towns, and villages or hamlets that we know had a significant Jewish presence. And why is this reacting so slowly? This is not fun either. I really don't understand what the computer problems are today. But the Town Explorer, which is supposed to be loading a map and has loaded the legend of the map, is a place where we've recognized 1,900 different towns, villages, and also cities like Warsaw or Łódź that we know had a Jewish presence, and where you can find information about the town itself and a way to contact the JRI Poland volunteer who's responsible for the town. This is so much fun. All right, let me see, let me think through. Is there a way I can get to a different tab? Let's see, it'll take me to the home page.
Do you want me, Robin, to see if I can pull it up on my screen?
I think we'll eventually get there.
Okay.
Hang on, at least I can show you. This is a picture of the town explorer showing Ostrov Mazowiecka. So let's see if I stay in control a little bit, what happens. This when you see a town explorer page, it will have, but then now I'm doing this so I don't have a cursor. Oh, there's my cursor. It will show you a map on the left. The town you're interested in will be in the center, and then to the right there's this window that first of all shows the name of the town spelled in proper Polish, which you can copy and paste and have the Polish special characters and whatever you're trying to type. It also has the modern, some of them are not very ancient, but the modern coat of arms. And if you click on that, it will bring you to the Wikipedia page if we found one. They're usually in English. We have about 20 out of the 1,900 that are not in English. They're either in Polish or Ukrainian. But you can begin by trying to search for your town in our Explorer. Now, if your town is in the Explorer, that does not mean that your town is in Poland today. What it means is that there are records in Poland or references to that village in other towns' records in Poland today, and that we know that town at some point in time in the last 1,000 years was in that town was in Poland. It may not be in Poland now. So the countries that that your town may be in today, but um, uh, but that you can find in our database are towns that are in, let's see if I can do this from, well, I don't have to do it from memory. I have my slides. Are towns in Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, Germany, Belarus, Russia today, or even we have 2 or 3 towns that are in the Czech Republic today, but we know that they have records in the Katowice archive in Poland. That archive is in the process of being closed down, and its data, its registers books distributed to other places, but so we don't have access to them now. But we do know that there's a couple of towns in Czech Republic, as well as Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, Germany, Belarus, and Russia proper. And then the former provinces of Galicia, which was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Prussia to the west. So Galicia to the east of Poland, which is Ukraine, and I think a little bit of Belarus was actually part of Galicia, but I'm not sure. No, I take that back. And then to the west, Prussia. So it was Germany to the west, but maybe a part of Poland today. So that in general, you'll go to Town Explorer to investigate whether your town is there. I gave this lecture last week to a different group. It was Southwest Florida, and a woman said, "How come Vilnius isn't on your list?" Well, Vilnius happens to be, I believe, still the capital of Lithuania, and so Vilnius has its own archives, and the National Archives of Lithuania are in Vilnius. And so one would not expect that the Vilnius Jewish material would be in Poland. It's in Lithuania. And in fact, anything that may have been in Poland from Lithuania, Belarus, not so much Ukraine, but sometimes Ukraine, has actually been exchanged between the countries, so that it used to be, so let's say 10 years ago, if we went and asked, as I did, went to the Belarusian archives and asked, what do you have about Poland? They've said, oh, we've exchanged everything between the archivists in Poland and Belarus. We don't have anything. Well, it turns out they find more and more. And right now, JRI-Poland has a project with what used to be called the Belarus SIG. A SIG is a special interest group in the IAJGS world. It's now called the Jewish Gen Belarus Research Division. And so anyway, we have a joint project with the Belarus group within Jewish Gen, and that is to retrieve Jewish information from the Grudno archives in Belarus, and that involves 12 towns that are in Poland now, including Białystok. And it's an area that we've had very little information about because the Polish archives did not have Bialystoker information. It turned out Białystok was Grudno Gubernia, or the Grudno province, for much of its recent history in the last 200 years. And so that information happens to be in Grudno and not in Warsaw. So so we do work with other groups to try to get you information about where are the sources. If the sources are primarily in Poland, then your town or village would be part of Town Explorer. And if you expect to see your town there and on Town Explorer and it's not, then you can write us and let us know, and we will investigate and perhaps add you to your town or village to the database. In the bottom right hand corner here, you actually see it twice because I'm showing you a screen within a screen. There is this maroon circle that has, I don't know, a conversation, like a comic dialogue bubble with a weird smile on it, and that is our talk to live chat widget. And right now the chat's turned off so that I don't get interrupted in my presentation. But if you click on that, you will, in fact, I can do it and show you if I flip to the other screen. In the bottom corner, there's this bubble. I can click on it, and that is actually often a live chat if I'm home, because you get me. Or otherwise, a message is sent to me if you put in your name and your email address, and you can get technical support on the website. So what happens is people don't read this message, and instead they ask me to help them find their grandma in some town in Poland. And that's not the purpose of this chat. This is for technical support. If you have trouble using the website, if you discover something that should be changed, if you discover a bug, or as I mentioned, if you think that your town should be included and it's not, it's the best thing to do is to write me here, and it's simple and direct. There are other people that read this chat, including our contract programmer, so it is primarily for technical support about the website, but you can write me that kind of message. Please do not write me and ask me to help you find your family in Poland. What I will do is explain how to search yourself and how to reach somebody who would have the answer to that question. Okay, so going back to the top of our website, our homepage, you'll see that that there is this login button and the very prominent donate button. This donate button is sort of the last part of our old website, and we're working to change it. So I'm not going to show you that, but the login looks like this. If you click on login, you get a two-part pop-up. The left side will self-fill if you have an account, and the right side addresses how to create an account if you do not have one. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Once I sign in, I get a blurb on the top right that says hello, shows how long I've been a member. It says, I keep changing it because I'm experimenting with my account, so don't believe what it says. But if I hover over it, you'll see that a pop-up menu appears. I can check my profile, and I can get to the video library. The video library is one of the benefits of becoming a member, which is not the same thing as having a free user account. And I explained it to 3 people this morning who wanted to go to this other session that we're having today. And at the same time, I'll show you that too, and how you can check for what our sessions are. But the video library is a benefit of being a member. We do have members only events as well. And then this is where you would log out, which you need to do to refresh the page sometimes. For example, these 3 people this morning were trying to become members last minute because they wanted to go to the session, which began at 1 p.m. Eastern as well. And they were they wanted to know, how do I become a member? I became a member. How come it doesn't show me as a member? And that's because when you do become a member, you actually have to have the screen refresh. And if you press this refresh button on the top left of the screen, it will reload the page. That should do it. But the safest thing to do is to log out whenever you leave the JRI-Poland, whenever you close the window, because it doesn't log you out of the system, to actually log out here so that you actually are logged out. And when you log back in, the information will really refresh. So let me show you what the profile page looks like. This is my profile page, and it shows things such as my birth date and my telephone number and my email address, etc. But on the right-hand side, it shows the status of my membership and when my membership expires. So you can see I've enrolled in the auto renewal part of JRI-Poland membership, which is a brand new thing. And that is actually why it says that I've been a member since the 27th of February, because that's when I renewed my membership and went on this auto subscription thing, which all nonprofits are trying to move to, and we are too, because you can see that I'm kind of a one-man band on in many areas of this website, and membership renewal is something that we just don't have a lot of volunteers to help us with. And so we're trying to move to an auto renewal case. You can fill out other information here. I put in my profession. I'm a retired management consultant out of the computer world. I retired to be a stay-at-home mom. My kids are now grown. My youngest is still in college. My oldest just became a father for the second time. He and his wife have a she just became 3 months old. She's now a 3-month-old baby and a new 2-year-old. Just turned 2 within the past month. So yes, we are new, fairly new grandparents. And then I've got my different skills: genealogy, fundraising, business management, data management, blah, blah, blah. And so we have some various questions about, are you interested in volunteering? And so on this profile. None of that is critical. What's critical is that you know that the profile is here, that it's being developed, and it's not as obvious as I would like it to be, but the programmers insist this is the way the world is today. If I move to the video library, we have the beginnings. We don't have a catalog yet. We're going to be embellishing it in the next year, but we do have this software that allows you to view other sessions. For example, we're featuring our recent tour of the legacy search system, which was provided to all users, not a members only event, but we have so for users, we do allow you to attend some sessions that are of general interest, but so attending a session and being able to view it later are two different functions, and viewing it later is reserved for members. So we have other topics such as understanding patronymics. What did Ashkenazic Jews do before surnames, which was a recent members only event. Poland's changing map, which was really an exceptional presentation. I have to say that my friend and partner in crime, Howard Zakai, gave the tour that I'm showing you of the legacy system. We've got understanding the Galicianer situation, basics of Jewish research in Poland, Warsaw Group, excuse me, Warsaw specific information, etc., and some other older things that I don't really want to point out. So so that is kind of a tour. Remember how I got here of the profile and the library, and those are kind of the hidden secrets of our system. I'm going to show you the Project Explorer since our screen's working, and then we'll focus on what is it that you want to do if you search. And I'm tap dancing in a way because I'm trying to figure out how can I show you my slides, and I can't figure out how I can share with my computer if it will only let me go to Chrome. So and yeah.
Robin, if you wanted to, excuse me, if you wanted to send me the slides again, I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
put
I was
them up on
thinking
the
about
screen.
that. I could do that. Let me initiate that and see. It's it's large, which is fine. Let's see if we go that way. These are probably people trying to get into that other session. Okay. Deborah. All right. And you have a way to show PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Just waiting for your file to come in.
Okay. Let me send it. Yeah, it's almost 65 meg, so it's gonna send it as a let's see. Okay. It's sent. We'll see how you get it. Meanwhile, let me show you Project Explorer. So in Project Explorer, just like the video library, I can feature something, and by I mean we, but for some reason I've switched to I today. We rotate this every couple of months. Right now we're featuring a Warsaw based project that's a very old project, but a really important one, and helps me remember to say this to you. Warsaw, you may know, was more than 90% destroyed during World War II. It's quite amazing to see the devastation. And among things destroyed were many of the archive stacks, let's say, of where documents, particularly Jewish documents, were kept. Warsaw, like Paris, is divided into different areas, and I forget what they call them within Poland. In France, they're called arrondissements, and so there are certain districts, that's the word, I guess, of Warsaw where Jews tended to live, and they had different civil records offices, and the areas where Jews lived happened to have been utterly destroyed. And so it's very hard to do Jewish research for Warsaw after about 1915. And so one of the things JRI-Poland has done over the years is to find alternative sources for the information that was destroyed. So although we don't have death records after about 1915, we do have the Nash Squad newspaper death notices, and the Jewish death notices from between 1923 and 1939 have been extracted and appear in our database. So we may not be able to, somebody says, can you get me the death record? The answer may be no, but there may be something that is helpful. So generally the death notice was posted by somebody acknowledging the sadness of the loss. There are also collections of marriages, wishing Mazel Tov to whomever, and there are other types of notices in the Polish papers. I've seen even classifieds where people announce that they lost their passport on the street because somebody find it, or somebody emigrated, and so on. So there may be other things besides a vital record to get you the information you're looking for. In this case, we've extracted more than 20,000 entries from which means 20 almost 21,000 separate deaths that whose notices appeared in this paper. You'll notice that when I scroll down, I'm given it's really a catalog, but it looks like Monopoly cards. We designed it that way on purpose. I'm going to show you a couple of things, but I want to show you this funny band here that allows you to search by town and filter by different research areas. We've divided all the towns and villages into different areas. I happen to be the maven for the Lublin area because that's where my grandma was from. And so I'll tend to show you those kinds of things, but I can switch to other types of projects, which I want to do. Right, the default is to show you non-vital records because I don't want to show you lots of cards. We don't want to show you lots of cards about birth, marriages, and deaths. That's kind of no, it's maybe obvious. And so we want to show you the other kinds of special things like the newspaper articles that we have. So the default is set to non-vital records only, and then I can click on them. You'll see the heart here. Let's see if I've done any show any favorites. It looks like I favorited this particular card, probably as an example of the Army Draft Lists project from Ostrov Mazowiecka, which is another town that my family came from. So let me click on that card, and it brings you something that looks like that featured project I showed you. It brings you a picture of the actual record. So we try to give you an example of what this source looks like, and it explains that there were 247 Army draftees between this time period and some draft evaders between 1934 and 1939 who appear in this project. If I scroll down from here, if that data were in our new database, which it's not yet, in fact, this probably means it's not in our old database yet either, there would be a surname list that appears here to show you the names that do appear in this project. But anyway, what I really wanted to show you was that I can favorite this. There's not too much I can do other than note it to find it easily again at this point. But eventually we're planning a user dashboard that will have other kinds of ways you can make comments and use this. The other thing I can do here is to share it. Whenever you see a share button, it's copying the link, which is actually listed up here at the top in my command line of the actual URL, the actual web address of this particular card, so that you could paste it into an email or something, and or your favorite family tree program, and actually have a link that you can share, so somebody else could get to this page as well. So that's what the share button does within our website. Let me go
Robin,
back. Go
Robin, I
ahead.
do have your PowerPoint. It's formatted
Fabulous.
as Google Slides, so just tell me what page you want and I'll grab the screen share
Okay,
from
thanks.
you.
Let me finish showing you Project Explorer, and then we will go there, and that's more interesting. So thank you. I want to show you the non-specific towns. If you were to click on non-specific towns, you get a little more visual as well, but you'll see that the JRI-Poland database includes information from the joint distribution community, and we found a great picture to provide for that. I mentioned the Grudno Archives project. It's explained here. We have even some websites out of Russia. This one is called the Karta Index of the Repressed, which are people who were sent to Siberia at some point in time. These are more announcements from a state gazette called the Monitor Polski, which most of these projects have extractions in our database, and if you search our database, you will get this information. But we're trying to surface the different projects so you can learn about them. We have consular records of people who contacted the Polish consulate in Shanghai, not necessarily during World War II, but as you know, Shanghai, you probably know, Shanghai was kind of the last place Jews could flee to without visas in the world during World War II. So Shanghai is a very important place. This is a photo of what the
Robin,
Shanghai.
we're not seeing your screen.
You're not seeing my screen anymore?
Well, we're seeing a screen, the Army Draft List project of
You're still
Austro.
seeing the Army Draft List
Yep.
project. This one. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. Let's see. All right, let me close. Somehow I got another window open. So let's see. All right. Do you see it now?
No, we're seeing the bottom says subscribe to our newsletter. The top is search by surname, search by town.
Why does it keep doing this? Huh. Okay. So I'm going to suggest that we that I stop sharing and that you share.
Okay. And do you want me to share your PowerPoint?
Please, and let's go to the PowerPoint, because it really focuses on the search, and I think we're really ready for that. Okay, thanks. If you'll click on, can you get to the slideshow and begin it? I see a slideshow button to the top right. This is different than because you're in Google Docs.
Right.
Can you click on that slideshow and tell it to begin the slideshow?
You should be able to see it now.
I still see the same screen. So it says view only.
Hmm.
All right. Did you click on the caret next to where it says slideshow in that pill-shaped blurb?
I did.
Okay. Actually,
what-
you're frozen. So maybe I'm frozen. Did you lose me?
I didn't lose you. But apparently I can't, I can't manipulate the screen the way you want me to. Let me go ahead and try one more time.
Okay. And I'm still frozen, and I have somebody else's name in front of me on my screen. So I don't understand what's going on today, but are you there?
I'll
Yeah,
try
you're there.
again.
Okay.
Yeah, we no longer see you on our screen.
That is
At
so
all.
weird.
Your cameras went out.
What is going on today? Yeah.
I don't know. The gremlins are clearly
They're clearly
No,
here
no,
today.
right.
Mhm.
If
Okay,
if
so
I keep it in this view, Robin, can you see that you're not in presenter view, but we can see your screen. We can see the slide.
okay, can you move to the second slide?
You bet.
Okay, and I can bring up my presentation, and so I can forward it along with you. All right, so the second slide says contents of the JRI-Poland database. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on. If you click, you'll see the list of countries and provinces that I mentioned. And then if you click one more time, hopefully it'll bring you to the third slide.
Yeah, we're on the third
Okay.
slide. JRI-Poland partners with other nonprofits.
Okay, great. So I'll just mention the number of the slide, and I'll keep talking and ask you to forward, and we'll see what happens. On this slide, I wanted to show you, I've already pointed out the index of the repressed. I wanted to show you that we partner with other nonprofits, and actually I'm showing you what their websites look like, but we have their information in our database so that when you perform a search on the JRI-Poland system, you would get results for those searches. We'll do some of those searches so that you can see how that works. If you click one more time, you should get a photo flying in that shows my family without me. My youngest, who's on the left, looks like he's about 10 years old um, in this picture. So I can tell you he's 21 now. So it's about 10 years ago that we were there for the first time, but as a family. But because of the JRI-Poland database, I was able to locate my husband's Ukrainian. Remember, we talked about the Magids or the Magid in the beginning of this lecture. My husband's great grandfather, Avram Meir Magid, uh, tried to move his family he tried to emigrate. He did move his family from Ukraine to America. They went to Cleveland, and he died in Warsaw on his way there. So the JRI-Poland database helped me prove the story that the great grandpa died on his way there. If you can read Hebrew, you can see kind of where the sun is shining in the middle of that tombstone, the Matseva. It says Abraham Bar David Magid, and then below it, it says Meir Chan Ukraina. So it says right on his tombstone that he was from Chan, Ukraine, and is buried in this cemetery. So we know we got the right guy. It also helped me prove that his father's name was David, because there are no actual descendants named David in the family, and so we believe that David was alive during the time his grandchildren were born, because there's nobody named for him, or that he had two names, that he was something David, and I have a guess of what that is, and it might be Israel David, but I can't prove that either. All right, let's move on to slide 4, which shows you what a vital record in the looks like in Polish. This is a birth record. Let's see, from I think it's from 1841, and it says that that might be a 9. I don't remember. And so this is in what's called the Napoleonic format, which is um, formulaic text. And so if we don't read Polish, we can still look in certain places within the document to find the key names we need. The first rectangle shows the father is Mayor Morgenstern. Then it gives his occupation and his age. And then and that he lived in Krasnik, in the town that he's from. And then it lists the witnesses. It moves on down to saying that a baby was presented that he said was born from his wife. That second rectangle is his wife. It looked like it says Lay in Polish in the grammar, because of the where it appears in the sentence. They've dropped the A from Leah. Her name was Leia, not Lay. And so it's a reminder for me to tell you that in Polish, they change the spelling of nouns in different places in sentences. And so one has to be fairly flexible when one is looking for one's last name. This also says that's a Z or Z after Leah. It's saying that her maiden name is Grintis, and then it has O with an accent and a W at the end. So it means that she, like in the French saying chez something, meaning it's from the house of somebody. This is saying that this is Leah from the house of Grintis. So we know that's her maiden name. It gives her age as 22. And then it goes on to say that the baby was named, and then you see a square, and then it continues on the next line. And I use this particular example because it shows you how the clerk saved paper. The name of this baby was Tauba, and I know the box is making it look like there's a hyphen after the U, but there actually isn't. There is no hyphen. They just got to the end of the page, or the end of the sheet, and then continued the name on the next line. And you see this a lot in Polish. So you have to continue looking to the next line. And sometimes in our database, our volunteers, we are a volunteer organization, if I didn't say that, we're up to the mercy of whoever's doing the work. So this person's name was not Tau, this person's name was Tauba, and it does give her last name as Morgenstern, which actually is unusual in a document. I also have a circled area down below to show you that in a birth record in Polish, the father is usually the first witness in the signing the document, and it often gives us an opportunity to see the father's name again. So had the first instance of his name been blotted out with a stain or difficult to read, then we often have a second chance to look at that name, and often in Yiddish or Hebrew. Here it just says Mayer Morgenstern, but sometimes we pick up differences in the way names are used, and I'm going to show you an example of why that's important to know in a minute. The next slide, if you move on to slide 5, please, is shows my grandma's city on the top left. That building, which is a huge building, as you can see, was a multi-purpose building, and it's becoming a hotel now. It turns out, there's a very long story, but it turns out that my 4th great grandfather and my 5th great grandfather were partners with a third person who was the 4th great grandfather of a friend of mine in Germany, in owning this building in 1824. And I believe the document below is a record that shows that that our ancestors actually owned that building. That record is about 200 years old. And so I just tried to use it as an example of the types of information you can find that are not vital records, and that you might have to rely on if you are looking in other time periods. So your handout has actually 4 pages. The top one is an introduction. The second page matches this. The third page matches our next slide. And the 4th page is about Prussia. And I haven't included a slide in this conversation, but if your family were from Poland proper, or Congress Poland, or Galicia, or Prussia, then we've put together charts that show a timeline, the types of documentation that Jews appeared in during these different critical time periods, what language they appear in, where they're located, and other information such as what's the challenge for using them. So if you skip to the bottom line of this chart, you'll see that before 1808 in Congress Poland, the challenge of working with the records is that there were very few surnames in use in our families during that time. In Congress Poland, we used what was called a patronymic system, like the Bar David, or in Polish, it would have been Davidovich. And so, so we are changing the JRI-Poland database structure to accommodate the need for researchers to search for records before Jews had surnames. And that is actually the unique part, the most, I think, important, unique part of the searching on the JRI-Poland database. If you search on Ancestry, on MyHeritage, on JewishGen, on Litvoxig, on Gesher Galicia, or any of many other groups that, like Yad Vashem, that have databases, these groups are not designed to allow you to go farther back in time than when Jews had surnames. So this, what we're finding is that in our research of Jews in early tax records from the 1600s, the 1700s, even the early 1800s, that Jews had nicknames. Somebody may have been known as the widow Sarah, or Avraham the Skinny, and that we're giving you in our new database, but we're working on converting the data now, a way to actually search on these other variables like occupation, nickname, whether somebody was a Kohen or a Levite. And so that should allow us all to get back further in time to these documents, such as the notary record I'm showing you on this screen, where we're not looking at birth, marriages, and deaths. We're not dealing with records that have straight surnames. So it's very exciting. It's very complicated, and that is our task at hand. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. I'll show you quickly. Is slide number 6. If you click one more time, please, Deborah, you'll see that there's another format that records can appear in. This is a typical Galicianer format, which is a matrix or a spreadsheet, I guess we call them now, but a columnar format instead of the Napoleonic format that I've showed you. This happens to actually be in Polish, and is what a Galicianer record looks like. So we also give you ways to click to view, such as this record, to view records when we can. And this is a record I did pull down from the database that is out on the Polish State Archives website, and happens to be a page of 4 different birth records. The top record on this page happens to be my paternal grandfather. Let's move on to slide number 7, which is what our goal is to teach really our search strategy, which is that when you are looking in the JRI-Poland database, you're going to be triangulating, which is a funny thing to say to the triangle JGS, that we're going to triangulate surnames, the town, and a time period. And I've tried to show you so far that that we're focusing on surnames, but we can get beyond that. That town, by town I mean city, town, or village, but it's got to be something in our system. We've got 1900 so far, and the time period is important because the names of towns change, such as if your family left from a Prussian town called Posen in the 19th century, then you may know that your family came from Posen, and that's actually the German name for the town. The town today is in Poland, and it's called Poznan. And so if you search it for Posen, you will not find it on the Google map. You'll find Poznan. But if you search in our database under the town finder for Posen, it will refer you to Poznan, or for Poznan, it'll show you that there's an alternate name called Posen. So you have to also be aware of the time period you're working in, so that you're searching for the right town name. And the right part of this screen shows the in the background what our new search is going to look like. It's being tested right now, and we only have test data in it, so it's not really generally available. And the front piece is what our old legacy, we call it now, search screen looks like, and what we'll be searching on in a minute. Please move to slide number 8. And I'll tell you a story of what we've been able to do. So you need to know, you need to, number one, be flexible with a surname, but you also need to be flexible with a given name and understand kind of what the law of the land was like in the pre-Holocaust or Shoah period, which was that even in the 20th century, most Jewish people, I was going to say babies, but really most Jewish people are referred in the Jewish registers by their Jewish names. Even if, like my friend Marion here, even if they grew up on the street in Poland using their Polish or street name, in this case, her name is Marion. And just like my name is Robin in English, but I have a Jewish name, which is Rachel, and actually more complicated than that. I like to use my Yiddish name because that was my great grandmother's name, and she died in the Lublin ghetto. So I try to remember the Yiddish part. Her name was Rikla Ruchel. But the point is that we had Jewish names, we had our street names, and so it's really important to know that Marion could not find her birth record because she went to two different cities. One was Lublin, the other was Opatov, and it's a long story I'll shorten. But she went and was looking for the name on the left here, Marion Stayman, which is the name she grew up under. Her mother did not survive the war. She didn't know her mother's name. Her grandfather's name was Laser Steinman, and that he was from Lublin. And she knew she was born in the Lublin ghetto because her mom went there for help with her from her parents for the birth of the baby, but that her parents were really registered in the Opatov ghetto. Ghettos only occurred during World War II in Poland, and so she went to both cities looking for her birth record to find out what her actual birth date was, because her father didn't remember. And they couldn't find her in either place, but she came to us. We had the way to look at the original spreadsheets and to look at the names in aggregate, which is why I call this deductive reasoning and the ability to look in the aggregate. We looked in the aggregate and saw that both in Lublin and in Opatov, there were only 3 entries among hundreds of thousands of entries. There were only 3 entries in each one with the name Stayman, but there were lots more, I think close to 100 of entries of Steinman with an N in the middle of the name. And once we were looking for Miriam Steinman instead of Marion Stayman, we were able to find that, yes, in fact, she was recorded in Opatov, and we were able to find her birth record. She went to Poland and got it. So that's her holding the birth record up. And it shows that the inset that she was there as Miriam Steinman, and she was able to find out her exact birth date and how old she was. It even said that she was born in the Lublin ghetto, but had been recorded in the Opatov ghetto. Now, the other lesson from this is that we think of, oh, it was the war, everything was destroyed. Well, all records in the civil registry office before the war in Poland were divided by religious denomination. So there are Jewish registers, but they were recorded in the registrar's office, which is a city office, and the cities were functioning during the war. And so, for example, in Lublin, the record book of the Jews of Lublin in the civil records office continues until the day that Lublin was liquidated, March 17th, 1942, and it stops abruptly. So don't think that just because there was a ghetto, there are no records. There are records, and they're actually records after the war, many of which are still held under the Polish privacy law. But you should, if you're interested in that period and bringing your family up through the Shoah, then you should contact the town leader, the town you're interested in, because we may have information or know how to get it if we don't. Let's move on to slide number 9, please. And that is I'm not going to focus on the slide other than to draw your attention to the orange part at the bottom. That is, what if you have 2 given names, no surname, and you're interested, and you know the time period. You actually need to know the town. What can you do? And I had that case, which I want to point out. And so let's move through these slides quickly because they're complicated slides. Please move to slide 10, which is my ancestor. He's my 5th great grandfather. That's saying great 5 times. Herzog Ziegelman died in Lublin in 1828. I have the death record thanks to JRI-Poland. But his name to me is that Jewish name that I mentioned, Naftali Hertz. He was, that's the name that I know was his name. And I was in Lublin in 2018, just after the Warsaw Conference. I went to Lublin, and my friends asked, how is it that I date my family's arrival in Lublin, Poland? And I said, well, I have this death record from the JRI-Poland database from 1828, and it's in Polish, and maybe my friend should look at it for me and tell me if there's anything I missed, since I don't know Polish very well. and I gave them the wrong name. Instead of asking them to search the JRI-Poland database for Herzig Ziegelman, and Herzig was his street name, I asked him to look for Naftali Hertz Ziegelman, and it didn't show up. So my friend, being smarter than me, and let's move to page 11, and I'm seeing it in a funky way, but hopefully you're seeing the search our database page. And if you click one more time, I think you get an arrow that shows where you key information in our legacy database search. They put in Naftali Hertz and Lublin, and then please click one more time, Deborah. Again, I can't see what you're doing, so
Yeah,
hopefully
we're
you're
we're
there.
having
You're
a little
along with us.
we're
Oh.
having just a little bit of trouble with these slides that have multiple
The clicks aren't
images
working
on
well
them.
Okay.
They're not working. What we're seeing on slide 11 now, basically
Yes.
are 3 layers, but the top layer
Okay.
says Foundation for Documentation of Jewish Cemeteries, Lublin.
That's what I'm seeing
now.
too. So,
Okay.
okay, thanks. That's what I'm seeing in my presentation. So you're just seeing the static version with everything loaded. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
So, so I'll skip to the punchline, which is that when you get a search results screen on the JRI-Poland legacy system, it shows you the vital records first by alphabetized by town. You have to scroll to the very bottom to see the non-vitals. And if you scroll to the bottom, as my friend in Lublin did, then you'll see this entry, the Foundation for the Documentation of Jewish Cemeteries of Poland. And that this is actually the foundation information that I showed you at the beginning, where I showed you the Magid ancestor and buried in Warsaw. This same foundation has gone around and inventoried many cemeteries, including this cemetery in my grandma's city. So what's bizarre is that I've been to this cemetery, which is the old Lublin Cemetery. There's also a new Lublin Cemetery. The new cemetery was opened in 1827. You see, my ancestor died in December of 1828. The cemetery was closed the old cemetery was closed in January of 1829. So my ancestor died just a couple days before they closed this cemetery. And the Nazis, of course, have stolen most of the tombstones. Well, I've been to this cemetery 7 times, and I've photographed every tombstone that is still there. And believe you me, I did not find my ancestor's tombstone. So I was completely surprised when in 2018, sitting in an office on a rainy day in Lublin, somebody said, "Robin, have you ever looked in the JRI-Poland database for your ancestor?" And they scrolled to this foundation document, and you see it says Naftali Hertz, in the starry means old, in the old Jewish cemetery of Lublin. His date of death, which I recognize, is December 28th, 1828. And you see on the far right, it says link to full details. So if you go to the next screen, it's going to be a jumble. But if you go to slide 12, you'll see a cousin of mine putting his arm outstretched on a, so we say, a prostrate tombstone on the ground. So what turned out was that somebody cleaned the cemetery up better. Remember, it had closed in 1829. It was basically abandoned and overgrown at that point. And my ancestor's tombstone, which is about 5 feet long, popped up and got photographed and appears in the JRI-Poland database, and is sort of a miracle, because somehow it had fallen over, apparently, or maybe it was on the bottom of a stack of tombstones that were stolen. We don't know how it got to where it is, but it was not stolen during World War II. And so if you go to the next slide, you'll see that it's been, whatever that is, it's been 5 years since we discovered the tombstone. We had it done with the help of Rabbi Shudrach, who's the chief rabbi of Poland, and an American, and with several other agencies around the world. My cousins and I have restored this tombstone and had it uprighted, and on the base it says that it was that the original location of this tombstone is not known, but that it was restored by the family. And you can see there's this gorgeous tombstone. All they did was clean it up. They did it in a halachic way, in a religiously observant way, and now it's kind of bizarre. It kind of stands out like a little bit of an alien, but my fifth great grandfather's tombstone has miraculously appeared and been restored in Poland. So that really concludes the personal stuff I was going to tell you about Poland, but go to about me. But the next slide, which is slide 14, shows that we've done many things, not just stuff for me, but many things as JRI-Poland. And one of them was this man is now of blessed memory. You can't see his face because there's this overlay on top of it, but a man named Israel Crystal was a Jewish man from Łódź, actually, Deborah, and he wasn't born there, but when he was 11, he was orphaned. His parents died, and he went to Łódź to live with relatives. I think they were cousins, might have been an uncle, I don't remember, who owned a confectionery shop, confectionery factory, I'm sorry. And so there are these Łódź census cards, registration cards. They're really a census, and from 1918, and his family died. His parents died after that, but when he was orphaned, he moved to Łódź, and he was added on the bottom of this card, and this we were able to prove his age to Guinness Book of World Records when his birth record went missing. But we could find this card in Łódź following the story of what happened to him and where he lived. And Guinness accepted the documentation and labeled him the world's oldest man at the time that we did this. So we've done many things, including working with TV shows and helping people every day for the past 28 years. So that is the end of the slideshow I was going to bring you. It's about an hour that I've been speaking, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I can't see you all anymore. And so I can see that oh yeah, the screen is just really a mess. I really can't see you, but Deborah, if there are any other questions people would like to ask, I'm happy to try to answer them, and you might need to be my eyes and fingertips.
Do you want to see if you click on your video button, if that makes any difference?
It's going to say stop video if I click on, oh, you mean if I turn my video on and off?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to affect the fact that I can't see anything, but.
Okay, we're seeing your name on the screen, but you're right, we can't see you.
Okay.
And while you might be futzing around with that, I certainly appreciate the challenges of this program today. We do have a question, and Maida, could I ask you to unmute, because I'm not sure. Your question is about a table that applies to Jews in Poland, but which table are you referring to?
It was in a slide.
Okay.
The columns were the various time periods.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
Let's see if I can find that. Let me see if I can find the slide. You're talking about it was a record of columns.
That would be slide number 5. That would be slide number 5. Okay. And what's your question?
my question was yeah, I can see the tiny bit. It's one slide before this.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, that's the actual record.
Okay, so what I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly is that these things were about sort of Poland in general, not I was a bit confused because sometimes I thought I heard talk about specific places, and I thought, but I think you mean this to be, broadly applicable to
Correct.
a wide geographic area. Is that correct?
Correct. So for example, if you're looking at slide number 4, which is a particular extract or a particular a photo of a record that's got red boxes on it, is that what you're talking about?
It's the one after that.
Okay, so it is number 5.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, record number 5. As I said, the images on the left happen to be about my grandmother's town, and I'm showing you an example of a document that is not a vital record document. It's actually a notary record that refers to the building in the picture. But that notary record is from 18 I can't see it clearly. I think it's from 1824. I can see it says it doesn't really matter, but it's from 1824 or 1825, which is when my ancestors owned that building. That would correspond with the third column from the left, that between 1808 and 1825, Jewish vital records were recorded in churches. They were in Polish. They're located in the Polish State Archives. The online status, meaning can you get an image of the document like I have here, it varies by archive. They're not well developed. Or I'm sorry, they're well developed but not easily accessed, and surnames were not mandated until 1821. That actually needs to be updated to say we've located notary records, which is in which is in the column to the left of that. It says magistrate, notary, and census records were available between 1808. There's a little bit of a disconnect here, so I really should fix this chart, which is that we have now found notary records in this earlier time period before 1826. And this chart is really geared, well, it's saying it's a history of Jewish vital records. Okay, so it's actually geared towards vital records by title. But so this chart, yes, it applies broadly to all of Poland. I was just mentioning Lublin because I happen to have a photograph of this page that shows that my ancestors own this building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry to draw that out and mix it up a little bit.
No problem.
Okay, let's see what I don't see other questions in chat, but let me scroll up and scroll down. And while I'm doing that, if you don't mind, Robin, I'm going to go put up on the screen. Let me make sure that everybody can see this. I'm going to go back to JRI-Poland because we got a little bit discombobulated at the very beginning. I'm going to go to the JRI-Poland main screen now. Can you see that? I'm there, Robin?
I cannot see your screen.
Okay.
I'm
so
frozen. So
all right. So
yeah.
we're at the main page, and if I'm going to go ahead and log in. I know my account is active.
Okay.
All right. And let's say that I was looking for an ancestor. Last name is Dobrzyńska. I think he was he died in the town of Lutomirsk sometime during one of the cholera outbreaks. So would the next step be to go to search to Town
Yes,
Explorer?
No. Okay. So Town Explorer explores the town, but does not get you to a search.
Okay.
Search does search. So we have a lot of people writing to us saying, hey, I'm on Town Explorer and I can't get to my family. The Town Explorer is about learning about the town. It is not about searching the database.
All right. So let's just, since I know the town, I'm going to go ahead and click on Town Explorer. And when I scroll down, I can see that there's a map of Poland, and to the right, there's a list of towns beginning alphabetically, but I also have a way of searching a town by typing in with a little magnifying glass, the town of Lutomirsk. I'm guessing here at the spelling, it looks like
just
I got
put
it
in
right.
L-U-T-O and or an M,
right.
L-U-T-O-M, and it'll bring it up. You can click on it. So I'm right there with you on my own screen. Okay.
And
what do you want to know?
So I can see a big yellow dot that shows me where Lutomirsk is. I'm using my pointer for our attendees. And I see on the right, the region it's in, Piotrków. The research area is Łódź. The area coordinator is Naomi Leon. The town leader is Marcos Fried. So if I had questions, who would I would just click on this contact town volunteer leadership button.
Yes.
And
go ahead
I could
and
send
do
out an
that.
email. So I could send out an email.
You can send out an email. You can change the return address if you from you if you don't want that to be the one that you have on file with us.
Okay.
And you can send them a message, and it says that your message will be sent to Marcos Fried. So it's in each case we don't necessarily it's the area coordinator who's determined whether and working with a volunteer like Marcos, which one of the two of them is going to be the one you direct a message to, so that we're all volunteers. So we don't want you to message 5 people and have us all doing the same,
right.
duplicative work. So let me point out a couple things on this screen, which is
Okay.
you pointed out the gold circle. If you scroll a little bit down, you'll see the legend on the map. That'll
Yep.
tell you what the colored dots mean. And since I couldn't get there live, I couldn't explain this all to you. I couldn't get the thing to load. But the gold means that there are existing surviving Jewish civil records that were kept in separate registers and that we can add to our database. So gold doesn't mean that it's necessarily in our database yet, but that there are Jewish vital records, civil vital records that exist. The purple starts with a P, purple for Prussia. You don't see any purple on this screen because we're not dealing with Prussia. It's way off to the west from Łódź. But Prussia had a different case where only up until 1874, the registers were mixed. At 1874, Jews had their own separate registers. So it's very, very difficult to extract Prussian information before 1824 because it's Jews were intermixed with the non-Jewish records. So that just lets you know that you're dealing with Prussian cases and it's different. The next line, which I guess was a brick or a burgundy color, explains where we found church records that include Jews in them. And that's Congress Poland only, and generally between the period 1808 to 1825, as I pointed out on the chart when we were looking at it. Although 1808 is when it began in the West, 1810 in the Eastern Poland is really when Jews appear. So for example, my grandma's city is very close to the Ukrainian border. So that's to the east. And the parish registers begin with Jews in them begin in 1810. So we try to point that out so that you can see, if you look at let me point out one more thing, then we'll get back to the map. The teal color is a town where we are not aware of any specifically Jewish vital records appearing. So there may be other things like the notary record that I showed you from my grandma's city, but if it's teal, that means we do not know of any Jewish vital records that exist, whether they're mixed in with the non-Jews or separate. And so if you look at the map and you see Lutomirsk, then you'll see it's gold, which means that we know about Jewish records. Around it are some cranberry colored, or whatever that is, burgundy colored, so towns. So you may, if your family wasn't living exactly in the city, but in early years were living in villages or smaller towns around it, then you would want to move out to those surrounding areas and look at the closest church records to where your families were. And we're giving you a map that shows the main roads, so you can see, you can imagine your family walking or taking their horse to a horse-drawn carriage to a nearby place. So the map becomes an important feature when your family can't be found in town, or they happen to live nearby. And then of course, if your town happens to be a teal colored place where there are no vital records, and there is one just south of Łódź on the chart that we're looking at, it looks like it's a place called Ruda Pobianicka, that there's a teal town hiding in there. If that happened to be where your family was from, what you would want to do is again look at the main roads on the map and look for a gold town where Jews were recorded, and hopefully we can help you figure out where you could find your records. Okay, so what else would you like to know? But I think that's an important concept in searching, and the reason why we have Town Explorer there. If you hit the X on Lutomirsk, you'll go back to the general. It'll close that contact tab if you're still there.
No,
but
I've left it.
Okay. So
So
what else
underneath now the contact tab, there's the source inventory.
Okay.
And you want to just quickly explain that as well?
Sure. Let me get back to it on Lutomirsk. and we can point that out. And there's some complicated but important things there. That is the newest thing that we've added to Town Explorer. And what we're trying to do is tell you what we know exists at the Polish State Archives. And actually, you can get directly to the archive if, and I don't know about the Piotrków Trybunalski archive myself as well. So bear with me and we'll plod through this. If you're looking at the source inventory, it's showing you that there are 5 different sets of vital records. They are Jewish and cover the years, as far as we know, 1826 to 1939. That's from a catalog from the Polish State Archives. Then below it, it says there are civil paraphia records, and that has to do with the churches that I pointed out between pre-1826, when Jews in Congress Poland were recorded in separate registers. Below that are the non-vital records, and it's showing population. And we'll take a look at that. It's showing, again, we added a religion column to show you that's mixed. So it's Jews and non-Jews together, and that we'll take a look at that. But let's click on the number 5 or the word civil under vital records, and it will open a window to show you the different collections we're aware of. And if you hover over where it says multiple years, it'll show you a list of the years, which is complicated, I know. Let's see, if I click on the word birth on the top one, it shows you what repository they're in. Things were done in duplicate, sometimes in triplicate. So if we know which register it came from, whether it was the unicat or the duplicate or the triplicate, then we give you which version we know it came from. And then at the bottom, it says code, and it's showing you actually that this is in archive number 39 and a particular fond number. And then there's a box with an arrow that points up at 45 degrees. If you click on that, it will take you, if we can get there, it will
We
take
can get
you.
there. We're
Okay,
there.
it will, no, I mean, for this particular time, and I'm there too. It will take you to the Szukaj w Archiwach, which is searching the archive at the Polish State Archive. And this is telling you in Polish, and no, it does not translate to English. You are on a Polish website. It's telling you that these are civil records from the community, the Jewish community, that Żyd, Żydowski in Lutomirsku, which again, this is just in a way, it's not conjugation, but it's called declination, that the nouns in Polish are changing because of the part of the sentence they're in. So this is Lutomirsk, and it shows you that there are 5,925 scans. And then, Deborah, do you see the line that says description, list of units and scans?
Yes. Well, yeah,
Okay.
I have the reference
You
code, number of series, number of scans, 5925. Okay. And
Below
then
that,
yes,
it says
description, list
description.
of units,
Okay,
scans.
click on list of units, please.
Okay.
And again, this is kind of the secret handshake of the Polish State Archives. But if you click on list of units, it actually brings you to the catalog of those units, again in Polish, because you're on a Polish website. It's actually starting in 1826, but those records are on the second line. You see the first line says 1827, then it says 1826, then it says 1827 again, because there are multiple books done with similar information. So if you're looking at the same screen I am, you can click on that line. It's saying that there are 49 scans for 1826. In that first collection of 1827, there are 32 scans. And the name means it's showing acts or records of births, marriages, and deaths. So you can actually get to the source documents that we use from the new feature on our Town Explorer. And I know it's highly complicated and it's not easy to use, and that is why we exist. We exist to allow you to search and find your document more quickly. So if you want, let's perform a quick search on the legacy system, and I'll show you how to do that. And
yeah, I just,
we can break
Robin, I
whenever you want.
just clicked on a document at random. It's quite cool. So
And it's in Polish or Russian, and you don't know if it's your family. So if you want to find a particular document from Lutomiersk in the system, let's see if we can use the search feature of JRI-Poland to get you there.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going back to JRI-Poland. I'm going to click on search and then legacy.
Yep.
And
And
I'm
then what's the surname you want to search for?
let's try Dobrzinska, and I'm going to
Okay,
go
you're
ahead
gonna
and put
spell
that
that
under the name.
slowly.
Yeah. DOBRZ as in zebra, Y, N as in Nancy, SKI.
Okay, so the first thing to note is that that if you're looking for ski, that's a masculine ending. If we find the database is smart, or the search engine smart enough to notice that, and women would be recorded as ska with SKA on the end. So you will see differentiation and on our search system, between men and women in names like this, and you will see that the system is smart enough to bring up both. All right, so we're going to just follow the basics, taking a phonetically like surname search, even though the phonetic ski and ska sound differently, the system will still bring up the women as well as the men with a different spelling. What I'd like you to do is click on the caret for data type and enter, choose town, and then enter Lutomiersk
Okay.
in that.
Done that.
Okay, and then you have to scroll to the bottom where it says, I agree to the conditions of use below and wish to search the database, which drives me crazy, but that's the way they did it. And click on that to get your request.
Okay, I'm at the next page.
All right, then what you're seeing is what we call the search one, or the screen one, or a search results screen one. And again, when we switch to our new database, we won't be doing this, but this is our old system. So right now it's saying that you did a phonetic search on Dobrzinski, and that it's from the town of Lutomiersk. It searched all regions. It found 40 matches. It counts marriages and divorce records as one. We give you a different line between the brides and the groom, or the husband and the wife. And it's saying that all 40 of them are from the Pietrków gubernia, which is how we group things on the old system. So there's two things I want to show you here, and you'll tell me when we run out of time. But notice that it says on the left, click here to view the results on a map. I want to show you that if you can stand the longer explanation. But the way to get to your results directly is to click on that list 40 records.
I went ahead and clicked on the map just to show everybody that.
Oh, you want to click on the map? Okay, well that's more complicated.
I know, but it's fun.
Okay, let me go back and do that then.
It's fun because you can see where other people of that same surname might be clustered.
All right, so
that's why I do it.
Okay, well, I'm glad you do it, because it's an important thing, and this function is actually what we've based the new search around. But in this system, the old system, there's no way to filter out false positives. And I'll give you the example of my family name of Ziegelman. So a Ziegel with a C in a Polish C, it makes a tzadi sound, like a tzadi in Hebrew, or a TCH sound in English. A Ziegel is a brick. Ziegelman with a Z or a Z, a Ziegel is a sail on a boat. So when I run this with my family name, I get thousands of entries that I don't care about, because my family were the brickmen, not the sail on a sailboat man. So in the new system, you'll be able to whittle out the false positives, and you won't get that. So what's cool on this map is, yes, you can see things that you might be interested in or concerned about. What's interesting here is that the Dobrzinski are only in Łódź. I mean, it's very, very specific. Well, actually, that's because the reason it's showing this is because we did a town search on Lutomiersk. So in this case, it's not going to show you very much. It's only going to show you the Lutomiersk one. So I can't show you here what I want to do. We can do another search on a broader name, or take out Lutomiersk to do that. And because there's another piece of this that I like to show. But let's go back then to clicking on the 40, right, so that you get the
40 records.
spreadsheet results.
Okay.
So it's showing you by town. Now we've restricted it to Lutomiersk, so you're only seeing Lutomiersk. The first group shows you Lutomiersk births, deaths, marriages, 1826 to approximately 1868. And you'll notice that on the far left column of these results, there is no click to view link. So these are not linked. So they won't take you directly to those pages we just looked at, unfortunately. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because no volunteer has linked them, or if it's because this is an old version of a file. It says it was last updated March 2017. It may be that there's more money that needs to be raised before we're willing to update the file. I don't know, but this doesn't get us quite to where we want. So let's do another search. And
You want me to
this
leave
time,
this page?
I do. And I'm going to ask you to search for one of my families because I know it'll work to show what I want.
Okay.
All right. So if you just do a plain old search on surname only, and
Yep.
you put in this unusual name, which is Schulfried, it's SZUL. And I can't see what you're doing, so let me know if I'm going too fast or slow. F is in Frank, RYD, Schulfried.
Got it.
Okay, just put that name in, click on the I agree to the use. And so this is an unusual name. You can see that there are 150 results. So instead, and they're mostly in Lublin Gubernia. So that's the first thing is notice there are 132 results from Lublin. So you know that this name is mostly involved in Lublin, but there are also 2 records from the Pietrków Gubernia and 13 from the Warszawa Gubernia and 3 from no specified region, which is also a place to look. That doesn't mean that the people didn't know where they lived. It means that they're in something like the Monitor Polski, probably. They're in some Poland-wide database that is not tied to a specific region of Poland. So when you get that kind of result, make sure you look there because it's an important thing to do. But let's click to view the results on a map. And you'll see, Deborah, what you wanted to show. This is my Schulfried family was a wealthy family, and they lived in cities, which is what this shows. They lived mostly in Lublin. Then they moved from Lublin to Warsaw, and actually during the war and just prior, they lived in Łódź. Łódź is the largest city in Poland, and it was the most industrial city in Poland, as far as I know. In the 20th century, Lublin used to be kind of the hub of the universe for a long, long time, and was the most industrial city in Poland in prior centuries. So you can see these people lived in cities. Now, what I'd like you to do is go to the time period where it says all, and click on the caret. Did you do that?
Time period going back to
No, on this, stay on the chart.
stay on the map. Okay.
Stay on the map.
Mhm.
Okay. In the right hand white area, it says time period.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So click on the caret. It says all. Click on the caret, and then if you'll click on the thing at the very bottom called play progression. This
Okay.
actually is the coolest feature of this function.
Oh, wow.
And
didn't
so
know
it
it did
shows you
that.
in the earliest records in the JRI-Poland database. Now remember, it's restricted to the JRI-Poland database, not what actuality is. It's showing you as times progress, it should be displaying the time period at the bottom of the chart and showing that the trees are getting bigger. By the time you get to 1901, Warsaw pops up. So you know that this family began in Lublin in the records that we have, and then pops up in Warsaw and eventually moves on to Łódź as well. And so that this actually is, I think, really valuable to the researcher to kind of understand the migration path through the documentation. Remember, it's limited, but through the documentation, we can show you the migration path of your family around Poland. And this happens to be a very small example, but an easy one to display. Okay, and we're not going to lose this function in the new system. The new system actually can do a similar thing, but it's not really ready for prime time. So
did you want to show us how sometimes you can view the actual document by looking at one of these?
sure,
records?
let's do that. That would be great. So if you go to back to your stage 1 search results screen and click on the list 132 records from Lublin.
Okay.
All right, we can start with the Bychawa ones. Let's see. Yeah, those are good enough. That the top one is in Polish.
Yep.
So if you click on the very first one, you'll see it's a marriage, and it's Zlota Rezla Kleiman to Raphael David Schulfried. And if you click on either the bride or the groom, you will be taken to the actual record. Now, you've seen this page before. What this is Księga Małżeństwa, which means that this is the marriage register. And it tells you, it shows you there are 102 scans, but it's only showing you one, scan number 7. So in this case, if you click on the image of that record, this is the Polish State Archives website. You're actually talking to a computer in Poland, and it'll bring it up larger. You'll see that it is a full page document. It's record number 4. And down at the bottom, it has the signatures. And if you enlarge that, I don't know if you can, I have a touch screen, so I can enlarge it pretty quickly. But if you enlarge it, you see it's got the rabbi. It's got the groom, Raphael David Schulfried, and his signature. It has the bride. So don't think that women were illiterate or didn't sign things. Here is Zlata Rezla Kleiman, who is signing her own civil marriage record. Then it has Herzog Schulfried, the father, Ojciec, the father of this is of the groom actually, and then the father of the bride signs. And in this case, I don't know enough of the Hebrew signatures to tell if these are all the same handwriting. They may all be the same handwriting. It looks very much like it's one person writing all these signatures, which means that this is not the register that people signed, but it is the duplicate that was done later. Okay, so there's a lot you can learn by looking at the actual record, right? We just learned the bride and groom signed, but maybe this isn't their signature, because all of those signatures in Hebrew look the same to me. And I'm not that great in Hebrew or Polish, but that's what I see. Is this is not the original Unicode record. This is one that was done later, so there would be a duplicate copy. Okay,
and we
what else
have
would you like to know?
well, we have a great question. I thought that was a really useful explanation of steps. Thank you very much for
Great.
that,
Oh, you're
Robin.
welcome. I'm
And
glad you're recording.
I didn't know about that play progression. I'd never seen that before. That was very cool. I'm going to have to play with that.
It's fun. Yeah.
Nada has a question about the new system. She wants to know,
Okay.
is that rolling out slowly or is there a launch date? What are the projections?
There's no, thank you. So there's no launch date. And remember that system is a very broad word. So the first thing we had to do was replace our aging and not working very well website. And we've taken down everything except for the donate button that I didn't show you. We're still working on that part, and we hope to have that done by the end of 2023. And then and this last piece of the legacy search is actually the final bit of the old website, but it's we can't replace it until we totally redo our database, and that's going to take us a year or two. So what we're going to say is for the next year or so, you're going to need to be doing the legacy searches using the 6.2 million records on our old website. but a lot of that is aging, and we're switching the format it's in, as I explained to you, that we're switching it so you can search for people other than on surname easily. And that means we're switching to something that both ancestry.com and myheritage.com do, which is called the searchable individual format. And old systems don't do that. What we're trying to do is make everybody, down to the rabbi, the bride, the groom, whoever, the witnesses, available to you if our volunteers have extracted the information. And that is not possible on the legacy system, which is which saves things by event. So the birth, the death, the divorce, the marriage, they're either single lines, or for a marriage or a divorce, or 2 lines, the husband, wife, bride, and groom. So in the new system, each person that the parents, whoever, will be searchable and independently. And so we have to convert not just our 6.2 million records, but our other records. We think we have about 800,000 other data records that are still in development on our computers, our personal computers around the world. So we have about 180 volunteers doing, and not all of them are extracting data, but in fact, only maybe 20 of them or 30 of them are. But we have all of this work to do, and it's just going to take time. So what you're going to see soon is that when you click on the search button, instead of just saying legacy, it will also have another option that will say next gen or something. It was up before as a test, and allow you to search on that. We took it away because no matter how many times we said this is search data, this is test data, it's not fully functional, it doesn't link to scans yet, we got hundreds of emails saying, why did you take away the ability to look at scans? Why don't you put it back? Why don't you? And we just got tired of being people not reading that this was test only and we weren't ready for prime time. So right now we're saying, please don't go to our test search system, but we will reintroduce it hopefully in the summer, but somewhere in the second half of this year, we will reintroduce it, and it will begin to have, instead of test data, it will have data that is new and not on necessarily on the old system. But we've got a lot of conversion to do. We don't have the money to do this, and so we're doing it as we can afford to. If anybody out there has some handy money, and I mean a lot of money, that would help us a lot. We figured 5 years ago when we started this project that it was a $2 to $3 million project. We don't have the means of we could go to Hawaii a lot of times with that kind of money, but we don't have it. So we have actually been using a contract programmer, and he has a company. He's in Portland, but the programmers who are assigned to our project are actually in Ukraine. And so we have more than just money as an issue. Our programmers have been really reliable, considering that their country is at war and most of them are displaced. Actually, all of them are displaced. And some of them have emigrated out of Ukraine, but some are still in Ukraine. So it's hard to promise timing. We don't have any go-to. It's all a volunteer thing. We do have about $600,000 that we've raised. That it's cost to create our new website, to create the infrastructure of what we need to do more. And we're working as volunteers to convert our data, which is going to take a lot of time. So, so like I said, if you've got some big money you'd like to throw our way, we would love to get things faster, but we're also really excited that we have all these new things, and we can provide you the video library. We're taking money in by implementing membership, which is a new thing for us. It's just 2 years old. We're providing you sources, ways to get to the Polish State Archives, but we've got a long way to go to fulfill our dream. And so we hope you'll help.
Robin, it sounds to me like one of the things that would speed things up a bit is having more volunteers. And as someone who has volunteered to extract data, I just wanted to put a pitch in for what a rewarding opportunity that was for me. No one had yet abstracted the records of this little town of Ludomirsk. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I think there were about 3,000 records.
Okay.
And what I discovered, not only did I find my family in these records, which was wonderful, but I grew affectionate for many of the
Yes.
people in this town who I would see be born,
Yep.
marry, have children of their own, and then die. And
And
one
then
of the
die.
things that I learned, and I would mourn for these people, I felt very
Yep,
close to
yep,
the people in
me
this
too.
town, especially when the cholera epidemic happened. I kept wondering why all of a sudden I would see, a modest number of birth records, and then I'd go, oh my God, there are hundreds of death records. And then I would do a little research and discover this is when the pandemic, the cholera epidemic, went through. So I learned a lot about history too.
You bring up two points I'd like to bring up, but go ahead and finish.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So the thing is, the thing that we are lacking the most is someone to organize our volunteers. It is there's so many people who I've gotten them to the point of saying, yes, I'll be that person that indexes or extracts. And I've even with Zoom am able to set up training sessions, but I don't have the bandwidth, and I'm managing the development of this project, and I'm also the assistant director. My fearless leader is about to turn 90, and the Stanley Diamond is amazing, wonderful, and I would say that he appears as a much younger person. He doesn't look like somebody who's about to turn 90, but I'm his backup, and so my day is very full. And when I'm not worried about my grandma's gubernia, then which I don't have time for these days. I'm working on this. What we need are more people who would champion projects, and it's very difficult to find. We've been looking for a volunteer coordinator for years, and that's the hardest role, and so that the hardest piece of that. The other thing I wanted to point out, though, is again what you said about the cholera epidemic. That one of so I work very closely with Howard Zakai, who's an attorney in Manhattan, and is giving the JRI presentation today on non-vital record collections in the database. He is our assets manager. And so I work very closely with him. So let me, I've told you that Stanley is turning 90. I just turned 63 and Howard just turned 41. So in a sense, we're like 3 generations and we back each other up, which is also fabulous. So Howard is kind of the newer generation. We also have volunteers that are as young as 15 as well. But so we've got more than 3 generations, quote unquote, involved. But in terms of leadership, Stanley, Howard, and I work very closely together. And and Howard's bachelor's degree is in history. So what, oh, I know, I pointed him out about the Poland's Changing Borders lecture that he gave that was outstanding. What Howard and I want to do, and is in the works, but we haven't gotten there yet in terms of the programmers. We have to get the donate button finished and the other things finished. But one of the things we want to do is let you come to a place like Ludomirsk and display the inventory of what we have in our database. But you saw the progression. We want you to be able to display that, probably by decade, but we might be able to fine tune it more, and then superimpose major historic milestones like a cholera epidemic, so that you could come to a graph of the birth, marriages, and deaths of your town. And when you notice, you may notice that between 1915 and 1917, or 1917 and 1919, there weren't any Jewish records, and then all of a sudden there's a large amount. It's actually people catching up. Or during a cholera epidemic, you see the death records go way up, or there are other phenomena that happen, and we want to give you the historical view and we're actually working on it in the background, but we need to get our data into the new system in order to provide those things. So we can't do it yet. And so what we're going to be doing, and we are actually tracking now, are those historic moments like cholera epidemics, and we should be able to show you trends. There are also major emigration waves. We've noticed that, for example, I think it's 1853, a large number of Jews moved from one town, happened to be a town near in Lublin, Gubernia, near where my family's from, and they moved to Kutno, which is a larger place that's in a totally different area. And so part of the question was, well, how come all of these people are now associated with Kutno, but it says they were born in Krasnobrod, in this other town. And it turned out that what connected those two towns, number one, was the rabbi. The rabbi moved from one place to another, and so apparently a whole community moved with him. But why these two towns? And what we learned was these two towns were each private towns. There were two types of towns that were owned by the king, by the crown, and towns that were private and owned by noblemen or built by noblemen. And so it turned out that these two towns were owned by the same noblemen. And whether it was because of business opportunities or some agreement with the noblemen, or the fact that there was going to be a new, better synagogue built, we don't know the reason. But what we know is that we notice immigration patterns, and that when we want to know why that town, we have to begin to look at who owned the town and whether it was a private or a public town. And we do expect to add that to our Town Explorer in the future, as well, as time and money permit.
Robin, you leave me breathless.
I know, it overwhelmed, but that's okay. I mean, if you want to pick my brain, this is the area that is what I do, and because I've been volunteering for JRI-Poland for 28 years. Stanley says I found them when they were 4 months old. I do have these kinds of dreams in my head. So again, I invite you to set up a user account, to become a paying member, which helps, to give generously, either to a town project of your time, as Deborah did, or money, and to help us, to let me know through the chat widget at the bottom of the screen that you're probably looking at now. If you have a technical problem, or you have some whiz-bang idea we haven't thought of, and to contact your town volunteer through our system, to get help on finding your family in a particular place. And that's, I hope, helpful to you all. And I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Well, Robin, thank you very much for your generous time. I'm sorry we've had all these technical problems, but I think given those problems, we've done reasonably well. I'm going to invite you to stay if you would like to see if there are any general questions or specific questions. Some of you might have a research brick wall that you would like us all to kind of crowdsource here. And I can see in chat that a number of people have said, thank you very much, Robin. And of course, I'll be in touch with you. Maida described your talk as fascinating, and I absolutely concur. So friends, let me ask you if you have any additional questions for Robin, either to unmute, or if you'd like to do some crowdsourcing here, if you've got a research problem, we can try to tackle in the next couple of minutes.
Well, I have a problem.
All right, Maida.
And it's very close to this topic. I have, in several lines of my family, have had cousins who in some respects have been very generous with sharing information, and in other respects they're sure I have everything I need and more. So there's never a citation. Sometimes they'll have shared facts that don't seem to be facts, not meaning about the specific people, but there are town names, and they've supposedly found information about these towns. They have pictures of records, but not enough information to understand where it really came from. So one of the issues I have is that I am struggling with, finding, what town used to be called Hopgard, for example, with reports that, I've seen images of records that most certainly are consistent with my family, and they're supposed to have come from an archive in Slovenia. And my understanding being the documents are all supposed to go back to the country of origin. I can see the towns, they're in Poland now. Should I expect that these records are moving around? Should I be looking somewhere besides the town finder on JRI-Poland or Jewish Gen, trying to identify what those old town names might be in the present day? I'm trying to actually find these records and be able to cite them for others.
All right, Deborah, would you like me to answer the question? Because
Yeah,
if
sure.
you could drive for me, I mean, it's a
Uh,
great question.
I'm-
I get similar questions almost every time I lecture, and I wish I could drive the screen myself, but I can't.
just tell me where to go. I'm a good
Okay,
driver.
so what I would suggest is that you go to Jewish Gen,
All right.
and I'm
We're
gonna
there.
go there too. Okay, so on let's see, on Discover, the Discover key, the top entry is Town Finder.
Yep.
Now we actually link to this from our town card page. And so if we get that far, I'll show you where that is. It's down at the very, very bottom. But this is, I think, one of the best kept secrets of Jewish Gen, which again is not JRI-Poland. You'll see they're green and blue. We are not, different place. And so if you search, you said Hopgard, Hopgard, maybe?
That's the way that I understand it.
Okay, so let's try typing it in. I have not done that, so I don't know what's going to happen, but let's try typing it in and nothing came up. Okay, that's actually a good example. So
Why
let's,
don't we try instead of phonetically, why don't we try a sounds like or
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sounds like is phonetic. I mean, they have, one is Deutsch Makatov, the other I don't remember whose name it is, but it's basically doing the same thing. What I
Okay.
would suggest you do instead, since nothing comes up, and it may not work, but again, I'm trying to teach you the methodology, is to type in Hopgard Slovenia, because you mentioned Slovenia. Now, I'm not aware of any place in Slovenia being part of the JRI-Poland, being part of Poland. Is too far east. But let's see. When you type in Hopgard, it brings up stuff about mite control and honeybees. So that's kind of interesting, and nothing on a map. So let's see, what else could we think of? I guess, so you've never found Hopgard on a map, and you've never found a reference to it, but you have some document that refers to
So-
it or not?
So the cousin in question
Okay.
has drawn up a map with
Huh.
cities where everybody lived.
Okay.
They're all in modern day Poland. But but somewhere in there, I see him referring to a town as Hopgard. I see him saying that he's been to, not only saying, he's got a picture of himself at some archive in Slovenia. I think I know the town name of the archive. I mean, I've found information about it. There really is an archive in the town in Slovenia that he's talking about. So
Okay.
such a place has existed as the archive. Well, but for the life of me, I am struggling to figure out first of all, what actual town is represented in these records that he talks about as Hopgard. Oh, the family married here, and then they lived in Hopgard, and then they lived there, and then they lived the other place. And there are
okay.
other town names, some of which I can pin to real places, and some I can't.
Okay, so the first question is, can you ask him where Hopgard is on a map, because we can't find it, but it's, I don't know what he's saying about Poland, because Slovenia is too far east.
So one of the
things that I have on the screen for you, Maida, is I went back to the town finder on Jewish Gen and I put in the fuzzy match, and there
Okay.
are some towns that I don't see anything in Slovenia, but I don't not Hopgard, but Boppard, Germany, Copper, Slovenia. I thought sounded like that a little bit.
Yeah, I see that on. I was looking at towns. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Very interested. So let me explain it. I mean, it sounds so simple. Just ask the person, right? But in some cases, the person's dead.
Yes.
And some cases the person is kind of guarded.
You don't have to say anything particularly disparaging. I understand. Sometimes it's not possible to ask the person or to get the answer that you need. I
Right.
understand. So
And-
what I did was so thank you. I went back to Google and I typed in Slovenia towns, and that Koper did come up. It's actually a city of 53,000 people. It's a port city. So for this hop guard, do you know if it was do you know anything about it? It says Koper is Slovenia's oldest town and one of the few that lives on the coast. A town lives on the coast. Okay.
You know what?
Um,
One thing that I do know is that although many of the towns where they live are in Poland, and frankly, so far as I would expect, it could be that all of them were in Poland, they spoke Hungarian. I haven't heard of any. My grandmother told me that as a child she spoke Slavic, which has not
yes.
been confirmed by anybody else. But
Slovenia, Slavic, that makes sense.
but-
But Slovenia, Poland does not make sense.
right, and
Hungarian makes sense. Poland
Hungar-
does
I mean,
not. So why do you think the family was from Poland?
because the town names that I can identify that the cousin has shared and the map that he's made, it's Poland. They're around Tarnow.
Okay, so Tarnów is we can search that on the JRI-Poland database and look around there. Let's do that. So
Okay.
Deborah, if you want to go to JRI-Poland.org, go to Town Explorer and put in Tarnów, Tarnow. I could get my fingers to do what my brain is thinking. It would help. Tarnów.
So I know, for example, that I have records of members of this family coming from Breshko, for example.
Okay, Bresh. Let's stick with one thing, because we want to help you, but we want it to kind of to be relevant to the whole group. So hey, hold that thought, please, about switching to it. Don't switch to another town. Let's stick with Tarnów. So the first thing that you notice when you come to the Town Explorer page is that Tarnów is in Galicia. Okay, Galicia is the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So now they did not speak Hungarian, though they spoke German, but in Galicia. So again, I'm not sure about the clue exactly, but that might be your link. That may be that your family came to Tarnów from somewhere farther east because it was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. That would make more sense. And Tarnów was a part of Poland, and is today, I believe. So that may be the link that I'm missing. Slovenia, a town in Slovenia. I highly doubt. I don't know everything, and my family didn't come from that far east, but I don't think a town in Slovenia was ever a part of Poland. But the family may have moved from one part to the other, and you can certainly search the Tarnów part in the area. You can also focus in on the map and see if there are towns nearby that have a similar name, but I don't see anything that looks like Hopgart.
Right. So to be clear, no one ever suggested that the family lived in Slovenia or that this town known as Hopgard is in what is now Slovenia.
Okay.
The actual town names that I have been able to identify, like I have a name, I can find it on a modern map. They're in Poland, right around Tarnow.
Okay.
So, which kind of seems, already intriguing to me, because I've never heard anything to imply that anybody spoke Polish. I know they spoke Hungarian, maybe they spoke Slavic.
Okay. So I do have a suggestion for you. And if you look up, Deborah, if you want to go to Breshko, which is Brzesko.
Sure.
It's also a pretty good example of things to show. So Breshko also it's in the Bochnia area instead of Tarnów area, but also not that far from Krakow, and was part of Galicia. And I would say that your best bet is to use this link and write to Howard Fink, and tell him the details of your story, because Howard, and you'll see Tarnów is actually on the map here on Breshko. You'll see it directly
Yes.
to the east, and also a gold dot. And this is the area that Howard Fink is an expert in. And so I would contact town leadership, use this button,
Okay.
and write to him and say, here's my family story. I know my family was in Breshko and Tarnów, and and I know they spoke Hungarian, and there's this other place we can't find on a map. Can you help me? And he is an expert genealogist, and he could probably take it from there. And he knows this region better than I do. Okay.
Thank you so much. And I have
You're
in fact,
welcome.
had other help from folks in Breshko, so it's
Great.
been a source. Thank you so much.
Maida,
welcome.
just one follow-up question. You said on these pictures that you have, are
Mhm.
these pictures of places or pictures of people?
I think the picture that I was mentioning was that the one particular cousin made a
Pictures
oh,
or
no, I know which pictures you mean. I have pictures of records.
okay.
They're documents. Yeah.
Pictures
Because I was
of
going to say, if you
the-
have pictures of places, there is a way on Google to
Yeah.
see if you can match pictures of
Wouldn't
places.
fantastic. I do not have those pictures.
Okay.
I have close-ups of records, so it says so and so born. Actually, it doesn't say born. It just, it has the one row that would have my relative in it, say, but I don't have column headings. I don't know the name of the book it came from and so forth. So that is why I struggle. But thank you very much for pointing that out, because it's valuable, and maybe someone will show up with a picture one day and I'll want to think
Yeah.
about that.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions, and it looks like folks are ready to say, I have an afternoon left. I'm going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to thank you again, Robin, and Ava. I will be in touch in about 24 hours with a link that you can send to the members who want to review what we've learned today. And you can see that Ava is holding up her copious notes. She's our recording. She records everything. What can I say? I want to thank all of you. Please be well. I'm looking forward to our June meeting as well, and our August meeting when we are in person again. So again, thank you all, and good researching to you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.